everyone, I am Tanya Singh, Community Associate in Citrus Freight. Citrus Freight is India's first reefer container booking application where you can book freight, custom clearance, and transport together in Citrus application. So our guest for today's webinar is Mr. Dushyant Gupta from Drip Capital. So Drip Capital is a California and India-based fintech company focused on solving the working capital problem for small, medium enterprises. So like the exporter using technology. So welcome, Mr. Dushyant, and he's going to tell you about something about himself and then the solution which we are discussing right now.
Right. So I hope everybody can hear me. Tanya, am I audible?
Yes, you are perfectly audible.
So good evening, everyone. This is Dushyant from Drip Capital. Right. I'm a manager here at Strategic Alliances, which is why we've rightly partnered with Citrus Freight. Right. And what I'll do is I'll just take you through the presentation. It'll basically give us a little bit of background on Drip Capital and also what the product is and how we can help you. Right. So you being exporters who are exporting, say, frozen goods to other countries, right? Frozen or agro commodities, while we're also trying to figure out something for perishables, which will probably come out in the future. Right. So yeah, so we'll.
Yeah. So Dushyant, can you please speak in Hindi and English mix so people will understand more clearly?
Right. I'll do that. No problem.
Okay.
So I'll just take you all through what Drip Capital does. Right. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Screen is clear, right, Dana?
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So Drip Capital is a global fintech, right? As Tanya rightly mentioned, we are based in the US. So we are a US fintech, and our primary goal is to provide SME clients in India, SME exporters in India with financing. And how we do that is something that we'll cover next, right? So our main USPs are that we are collateral free. So that is one of the main things that we have, is that we don't ask for any collateral to the exporter, right? That is one challenge that they face when they're trying to avail any facilities from a bank, right? The second advantage that we have is we are paperless, digital and hassle free. आपको जितने भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं आप सारे हमको ईमेल करते हो या पोर्टल पे अपलोड करते हो, आपसे फिजिकली कुछ नहीं लिया जाता. एंड द थर्ड इज कि आपका जितनी भी अंडरराइटिंग होती है, दैट इज ऑल डन ऑटोमेटिकली, राइट? वी जस्ट कलेक्ट योर डॉक्यूमेंट्स and then our underwriting team and algorithms work on it, and then we have the automated decisions. So unlike in a bank, you will not need to make to and fro's from the bank to your office. सब कुछ digitally हो जाएगा, and the turnaround time here is roughly 15 days, right? So more about that later. So if you look at Drip Capital, as I mentioned, we're a global fintech, right? We are based in the US. We have regional presences in Delhi, where I am based. Mumbai mein head office hai. Bangalore mein we have 2 people there. We have more people in Ahmedabad and Chennai, right? So we've covered mostly all regions in India, right? We have raised around $500 million from Axel and Sequoia, which we're lending out in the market. We have partnered with EPC, FIO, ICICI Bank, Plex Council, and other such export associations, right? So if you look at the numbers that Drip Capital has done over the past 6 years, since we've opened in 2016, right? We financed roughly $3.5 billion of trade. We've worked with more than 2,000 exporters in India in 60 plus cities. And we've covered 40 plus countries जहाँ पे आपके buyers हैं. So we cover all sort of buyers. अगर आपके US, Europe में है, so great. We also cover Dubai. We are also able to cover African nations and South American nations. So if you are sending any material there, we are more than happy to cover that. So I'll take a step back and I'll talk about the problems that exporters usually face, right? So India has been growing, except the last few months. India के export usually बढ़ रहे हैं, but the only issue is that आपसे banks या तो LC मांगते हैं, or you want to keep yourself secure and have an LC or maybe some other instrument जो easily किसी SME exporter को मिलते नहीं है, right? So even though SMEs and MSMEs are the backbone of Indian economy, they do not get enough support financially from either the banks or other financial entities, right? So as I mentioned, your banks will require hard collaterals. उनकी जो underwriting policies होती है वो भी बहुत strict होती है, and that is the reasons that a lot of new exporters that are coming in are not able to avail financing from banks, or even if they can, वो sufficient नहीं होती, right? आपको usually additional funding चाहिए होती है, क्योंकि आपके पास pending orders होते हैं, आपके पास pending POs होते हैं, जो आते हैं बट आप फुलफिल नहीं कर पाते. So DRIP offers a solution that is able to help growing SME clients. Right? जैसे मैंने पहले mention किया था, when you get, I think Prashant was talking about how he's in talks with a new buyer, right? The problem with the new buyer is कि आप हमेशा LC चाहोगे. He was saying that, Prashant was saying that, पहला transaction हमको secure करना है, we don't want to lose money on that. So you will want an LC on that, or maybe an SBLC or a bank guarantee from the buyer. अब उसमें इशू क्या होता है कि आपकी कॉस्ट बढ़ती है, आपकी एक्सपोर्टर की, आपकी बायर की कॉस्ट बढ़ती है. तो यूजुअली फर्स्ट टाइम एक्सपोर्टर्स और न्यू एक्सपोर्टर्स, उनके ऑर्डर्स दे फॉल थ्रू बिकॉज ऑफ सच रीजंस, राइट? अगर एलसी नहीं मिलती तो आप बैंक पर जाएंगे ओडी लिमिट लेने या पैकेजिंग क्रेडिट लेने, बिकॉज आपके पास सफिशिएंट कोलैटरल नहीं होगा, तो आपको बैंक भी प्रोवाइड नहीं कर पाएगा फंडिंग, राइट? सो दैट इज वेयर ड्रिप कैपिटल कम्स इन. आई विल टॉक अबाउट माय प्रोडक्ट इन अ बिट मोर. So this is basically our product, right? यहाँ पे if you have any questions, अगर आपको कोई भी question है बीच में, so please feel free to interrupt me and tell me or ask any questions, right? So the product is fairly simple, right? We factor invoices. तो factor अगर आप देखें तो it can also be bill discounting. अब इसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि those who are not first time exporters will know that जैसे ही आपका माल इंडिया के बाहर जाता है, as soon as your shipment sails, you get a bill of lading, right? So on that bill of lading and your shipping bill and your invoice, we are able to give you 80% of your invoice value upfront, right? तो जैसे ही आपको BL मिला, हम आपको 80% of your invoice value hand to hand दे देंगे. आपने मेरे को BL सबमिट करा मेरे पोर्टल पे और मैंने आपको 80% वैल्यू दे दिया. So for example, if your invoice value is of say 10 lakhs, right, this will be in USD. So say 100,000 USD, I will give you 80,000 USD upfront, right? So if you follow this cycle, day 0 is when आपने मुझे BL दिया. This will be post shipment. So आपकी shipment हुई, आपने मुझे BL provide किया and immediately मैंने आपको 80% दे दिया, which is 0.2, right? Now आपका credit period होगा. The reason that you're coming to drip capital is because 1, you need liquidity, and 2, you have a credit period, right? So आपको credit period 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, all the way up to 120 days drip can cover, right? So जैसे ही आपका credit period होता है 30 days का, तो as soon as that ends, the only difference is the buyer, जो आपके buyer हैं, जो importer है किसी country में, वो drip capital को payment करेंगे. They will not make you the payment. They will give drip 100% of the payment. As soon as we receive 100% of the payment, we deduct our charges, and within 24 to 48 hours, we pass the remaining 20% to you. तो अब इसमें मेजर एडवांटेज आपको ये होता है कि जो आपके पेंडिंग पीओज हैं, जो आपके पेंडिंग ऑर्डर्स हैं, आपको एडिशनल मैन पावर चाहिए, उसके लिए आप जो हम 80% एडवांस देते हैं, यू कैन यूज दैट इमीडिएटली टू फुलफिल दोज ऑर्डर्स, राइट? एंड जैसे ही बायर से पेमेंट आती है, that remaining 20% we give you, we remit to your account as soon as it hits our account. तो अगर आपका क्रेडिट पीरियड से 60 डेज है, तो 60 डेज बाद जैसे ही बायर हमको पेमेंट करता है 100%, हम आपको आपका रिमेनिंग 20% दे देंगे माइनस आवर चार्जेस. सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट आवर चार्जेस, which I'll also expand further in the slides, it is roughly 1% per month. So this is an all-inclusive charge. आपको 1% per month लगेगा. तो जैसे मैंने आपको पहला एग्जांपल लिया था, अगर आपकी $100,000 की इनवॉइस है, हमने आपको $80,000 एडवांस दिया है, आपको रफली 60 डेज के लिए $1,800 लगेंगे. Right? Any questions here?
Yes, sir. I'm having a question here.
हाँ जी प्रशांत जी, बिल्कुल.
Actually, I think I can't remember clearly, but I think I have attended one of the sessions with Drip Capital from different service provider.
Right.
But I think it is more or less the similar things. But the thing is that for availing this post-shipment finance, we have to have done business like 1.5 crore or something.
Right,
minimum
sir,
30 days, you know?
Right.
Okay.
So उसमें there are some changes, but we usually look at an export turnover of $200,000 already done. Right? I'll come back to that slide. But अभी we started looking onto the domestic turnover as well. तो अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं बट आपका साइड में डोमेस्टिक बिजनेस भी चल रहा है, so we are able to capture your GST and we are able to go through that and see कि आपका total turnover क्या हो रहा है.
Okay.
Right? So I'll take you through that also in the later slides.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I think somebody had said something. Anybody else?
No, like go forward.
ठीक है. So these are our offerings, right? So one, as I mentioned, this is collateral free. हम आपसे कोई hard collaterals नहीं लेते. We don't ask you for an FD. We don't ask you for checks and everything, right? We don't ask you for any hard collaterals. It's a 2-minute application. आप website पे जाके कर सकते हैं, or you can contact me later. Or you can contact me later, and we can follow your process. The eligibility I will talk about. जैसे प्रशांत सर ने बोला, थोड़ा उसमें change आया है, तो वो I'll dive deep into it and explain that later. The credit limit that we give can be given up to $2.5 million, right? तो जो exposure हम एक exporter पे लेते हैं, वो roughly आज की date में, आज की currency पे roughly 20 crores का हो गया, right? So we can do it as less as $50,000, which is 40 lakhs, and as high as $2.5 million, right? आपका paperwork minimal लेते हैं. Paperwork भी I can explain what we take in the later slides. Pricing I've mentioned is an all-inclusive of 1% per month, right? तो इसमें भी components होते हैं अलग-अलग, तो वो मैं आपको mention कर दूंगा. So this is our process. So there are 2 processes that we can follow. One is that you can just go to the website, right? You can fill in your application. हम आपका IC लेते हैं. Based on your IC, we are able to tell you कि आपको इतनी limit मिलती है on the website. Consequently, you can also, I will have my contact details later. You can also reach out to me. उसमें we'll check your IC. As per the new process, we also take your GST-IN. तो जैसे प्रशांत जी बोल रहे थे कि आप हमको hard $200,000 का वो चाहिए होता है turnover. अब हम थोड़ा ये भी कर रहे हैं कि हम आपका GST लेते हैं, and GST के basis पे we check your entire, we take a holistic picture. आपका domestic turnover, आपका export turnover पूरा लेके, then we are able to derive a limit for you. That being said, we do require a certain amount of vintage in exports, but we can figure that out, right? Once एक बार हम आपको offer letter देते हैं, then we collect your documents. So as soon as you give us your documents, your underwriting process is done, right? We also check with the buyer. आपके buyer पे हम insurance limit लेते हैं, and once all that is done, we come to the third point where your legal documents are signed digitally, and you then have access to our portal जहाँ पे आप invoice add कर सकते हैं. Rest assured that we also have teams that will help you throughout the process. In the beginning, I am there, right? After that, you will have a business development manager and an account manager to take care of your account fully. Right, now I'll come back to the commercial structure. So I'll tell you a little about जो मैं आपको 1% all inclusive charge बोल रहा था, उसको मैं divide करूंगा into different charges that we have, right? So first is the facility size. वो मैंने आपको बोला कि so from as low as 50,000 USD, we go as high as $2.5 million, right? तो आपको 40 लाख से लेकर 20 करोड़ तक का हम ticket size दे सकते हैं, right? The advanced amount that we give is 80% of the net invoice value. तो आपके पास से 10 lakhs की invoice आई तो हम 8 lakhs देते हैं. But please remember, this will all be in USD or for foreign currency, right? I'm just taking an Indian example for making it simplified, right? अगर आपके पास 1 करोड़ की invoice है तो हम आपको 80 lakhs advance देते हैं. So that is what it usually is. Once you and I have a working relationship, we can extend the limit up to 85%, right? Now when I talk about the all-inclusive charge, जो मैंने आपको ऊपर यहाँ बताया था कि हम ये all-inclusive charge लेते हैं as low as 1% per month, उसका अगर मैं break down करूँ, so these are the charges that we take, right? So उसमें आपका 2 recurring charge होता है, जो कि आपका होता है interest on advance, which is your rate of interest, and a factoring commission. So this, I'll tell you the difference between the two. So interest on advance is basically जो हम आपको 80% advance दे रहे हैं. आपने मुझे 1 करोड़ की invoice दी, मैंने आपको 80 lakh rupees as an advance दिया. So that interest is only charged on the 80 lakh rupees, right? So this is usually 6 to 8% per annum, right? We also have a floating rate. So we've linked our interest rates to the US Fed rate. US Fed rate is currently at an all-time high, but as soon as that goes down, you will also see a dip in your interest rate. So maybe by March, we are expecting this 6 to 8% comes out to be 4 to 6%. Right? उसके बाद we have a factoring commission. ये हम charge करते हैं on the net invoice value. So if you've given me an invoice for 1 CR, I will charge the 0.35% per month on 1 CR, right? Not on the advance value. So ये दोनों मिला के, we also have one other additional charge, which is a one-time processing fees, which we call an establishment fees, which is usually 0.5% of the limit. तो ये तीन चार्ज मिला के आपका 1% per month का आता है, which is annualized up to 12%. Right? इसमें any question? Anybody has any questions? Please let me know if I'm going too fast. If you want me to go slower, I can do that as well.
Yeah, sir, I have a question. My name is Ramesh.
Yeah,
so your finance is only for LC based invoices or any type of invoice you are doing?
No. Achha, thank you for asking that question, sir. I haven't mentioned that. So we do not cover LC, SBLC, BGs. Right? If you have any financial instrument attached to your transaction, we don't cover that. We want to make it as simple for an exporter as possible. तो जो आपके बिना LC के सारा होता है, वो compliance, we are not compliant to that. So we do transactions that are either open account, आपका CAD, आपके bank to bank transactions भी हम लोग cover करते हैं, but they should not have an LC or an SBLC or a bank guarantee.
Okay, other than LC, you are dealing all the things. I understand.
Correct.
But for example, I have a buyer, I am sending it. So how you know the buyer is good or bad and how I am getting back that money?
Right. So sir, हम लोग basically क्या करते हैं? Thank you for asking that. I was going to cover that later anyway. तो जैसे मैंने mention किया था कि जब हम आपके documents लेते हैं for underwriting process, right? तो उसमें हम लोग आपकी buyer की details भी लेते हैं. Now your buyer details we send to our insurers, right? That insurer will give us a rating of your buyer. Right, it's rated on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 3 being best, 4, 5 being better, and after that we take a call on the buyer. Right, so those insurers, we work with two of the largest insurers, Euler Hermes and Arcadius. They give us details on your buyer. Right, so if your buyer will have an insurance limit, we will tell you that, sir, this is the exposure that we can take on the buyer. This is a good buyer, which is why a lot of exporters come to us and they have new buyers because they want to know whether that transaction is safe or not. Right? If you give me a buyer and I say, sir, we have to reject this buyer because there's somewhere their rating is not good, that means in the market they have defaulted on payments. So if it's a new buyer, then that also becomes a point of concern for you.
Yes.
Right? I hope that clarifies.
Yeah. So you mean to say before getting order from the buyer, I need to validate the buyer from your side. When you say go ahead, then only I will take the order from this. Correct?
You can take the PO, sir. You can take the PO.
I can take the PO. Yeah. For example, I am taking the PO and within 1 week, I need to ship the documents. I mean, goods. So after that, if you say the buyer is not good, then the money will not come back, na?
Sir, it depends. So basically, if you look at the ratings, right, we have 1 to 10.
Okay.
So 1 to 3 are top buyers, right? 4, 5 also you will get some insurance limit on those, right? 6 we take a call. 6 we usually say that the buyer is rated average. We can fund this transaction, but this will be on a recourse basis. That means if the buyer defaults, then we will take the money back from you.
Okay.
So that is then that for that whether you want to take that risk or not.
Okay.
Right? But for those we are getting a limit. Straight up, you're getting a limit, right? As if the buyer defaults for any reason, financial reason, or anything like that, we are able to cover our risk. And
I think in this case, my safety purpose, instead of doing business with him without validating, first I will validate and take the business and do that is good as per me. Because, for example, one new buyer is coming, he established newly. We don't know his credit rating, whether good or bad. So before shipping, if I give the details to you, if you say go ahead, then I take the PO and do the.
And in case anything goes wrong, you will also be covered.
Okay.
Solution. That answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Hello, Dushyant. Your voice is not audible. You're not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Fine.
So this was about all about our and everything. What do. So after we underwrite you, and we are able to this will be dedicated portal for all your financing. All the documents that you've given us, all the invoices that you have, if your buyer has an ERP system integrated, so you can even track your shipment, all of that is given to you in a portal. So you don't even need to reach out to a lot of different people saying, I want this transaction or right. So this is our exporter dashboard. You can see all your invoices, transactions. In fact, we also give you analytics कि आपके इस buyer के साथ आपकी इतनी transaction होती है, इतना payment उनका delay होता है. So all that you get to see, right? This is again इंटीग्रेट करके आपको यहाँ दिखा सकते हैं कि आपकी अभी it has left the port, it is in transit with this freight forwarder or carrier, it has arrived at New York, it has been taken over by the exporter. All this is done if your buyer has an ERP. Now we come to this part where sir had mentioned earlier कि you have a export turnover ka requirement, right? So I'll take you now. So we take any exporter who has done roughly $200,000 or $2 lakh in the last 12 months. December 20 to December 20, if you 1.6 turnover, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just share my screen again.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Please continue.
Right. So as I mentioned that the buyer countries that we cover, we can cover all countries, be it Africa, Latin America, even yours. Usually, traditionally, Africa, Latin America are considered high-risk countries, but we're also able to cover that. The only countries that we can't cover are those that will be sanctioned by the US, right? So currently, say countries like Sri Lanka, Iran, Iraq, Somalia, these are sanctioned by the US. And since we're a US-based company, we can't cover these countries, right? But jitni abhi humko demand milti hai for frozen food, for agro commodities, I know a lot of it goes to Dubai, a lot of it goes to US and Europe, and some of it also goes to Africa, right? So these countries we're able to cover without any qualms. And there is also a list of negative goods that we don't cover, right? So if you see, we are not able to cover perishables for now, like fruits and vegetables. We are trying to find a way कि हम इनको कैसे करें. Probably we'll come back to you in say maybe 2 months and say we are able to cover perishables. But उसमें ये है कि जब आपके goods accept हो जाते हैं आपके buyer से, then we can cover the credit period after that, right? So this give us some time. We'll figure out and we'll let you know if we can do it or not. Gems and jewelry and precious metals are something that we definitely cannot cover, right? And Baki, I think we did have this thing where we cover frozen foods, we cover your agro commodities, rice, spices, everything can be covered. So this is basically a testimony that we've had over the past few years. Since we've been working since 2016 and 2017, we had carried out a survey where we see that drip financed invoices, right? What is the rate of growth for those exporters where we are exporting, where we are giving financing? right? So जैसे मैंने पहले mention किया था, that we are able to give you certain amount of dollars of financing, you are able to rotate that and get new orders. So this is not a cherry-picked number that I'm presenting here. This is an average number where we've seen that even during COVID, where customers who had taken drip capital's funding were able to grow at an exponential rate of 31%, right? As opposed to say 7 a year and 3.24 the year before, right? So this is basically our 2022's number, and this is what we've seen grow throughout 20, right? So agar aap dekho, green is where we've seen orders who have not availed drip capital, versus blue is where drip capital had made a substantial impact in their cash flows, right? Basically a testimony that we had of a customer in Jaipur, in Jodhpur, right, where they've been exporting textile garments and handicraft since early 2000s, right? There also, their main concern was that our buyer wants us an LC, right? We want to open an LC because the buyer says that either I'll give you advance payment, so you have to have a credit period, and he wasn't even ready to have an LC because LC would cost him more. So he started working with Drip Capital in 20, still a valued customer. And this is the solution we presented him. We told him that, sir, you don't need to open an LC. You come to Drip Capital, we'll get you a non-recourse funding. This is also off-balance sheet funding. So this does not balance sheet, because we are buying off your receivable rate. Usme exporters joined with us. They've been working with us since the past 3 years. And if you talk about agro-commodities, we also have tie-ups with Ninja Cart, who's also into agro-commodities. We're also doing freight forwarding for a lot of, we're also partnered with freight forwarders like Citrus, who are into. This is basically a slide of us in the news, where it talks about the funding that we've raised, basically our credentials, right? So we raised 15 million from Axel and Sequoia. Last October, we again raised under 40 million, right? On the left, you'll see Mukhevar, on the top left corner, who is our CEO. Yeah, this is again a testimony to all of that. So these are the countries, these are the cities that I mentioned that we work with, more than 40 cities. These are the cities that we've regularly gotten demand from. So if you see here, Panipat is where we get a lot of demand for rice, right? Mohali also has agro-commodities. Mangalore has a lot of fisheries, right? Cochin has spices. So I'm talking about all the agro-commodities or frozen fruit. These are all the countries that are the buyer nations. We've also started expanding more. So even in South America, we started doing more countries, even in Africa, that usually no other bank wants to cover because it's a high-risk country. We are able to, continent, we are able to cover that. So your African nations like Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, these are covered. Those that are sanctioned by the US, we will not be able to cover. So maybe your Iran, Iraq in the Middle East and Somalia here, we won't be able to cover. These are the industries that we work with, right? So for customers, I think of frozen foods would be the ones relevant here. FMCG will also be relevant here. And these are my contact details. I'll just leave this page here. So if you want, you can note down my number. I think we can open the Q&A session. Tanya, is that okay?
Yeah, fine. Okay. So अगर किसी के पास कोई सवाल है, आपको पूछना है, तो आप अपना माइक ऑन कर सकते हैं and directly आप कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं related to finance or related to इन सारी चीजों के जो आपने अभी सुना. So let's start.
So before that, I think Prashant ji had raised a question where he said that, what is the, you take 1.6 CR of export turnover of new export. So we are trying out a new method, Prashant ji, where we take your GST-IN, right? We send you an email. Isme we verify your GST-IN. So say, for example, if you had less turnover in exports, but you have a presence in domestic, right? So we are able to offset that and start with a lower limit. तो हम आपको मे बी $50,000 की लिमिट प्रोवाइड कर देंगे, and based on your orders and the order fulfillment and the payment we are getting, if you're getting it on time or not, we are able to get right. So उसके अलावा if you has any questions, please go ahead.
So I just have a question, like a few of them have asked in during registration and everything. So is it like the rest 20% you are going to cut from that, your 1% or something?
Right. So as I mentioned कि 80% हम आपको upfront देते हैं.
जी जी.
Right. आपकी जैसी shipment निकलेगी, you
Mhm.
have your BL with you, you submit your BL, and I give you 80% of your invoice value upfront.
Okay.
Right. अब 60 days जब आपका buyer payment आपको करता है, usually your buyer will make you the payment, but उसकी जगह the buyer makes payment to direct capital. तो
Okay.
मुझे 100% payment दी, and उससे मैं आपको आपका remaining 20% देता हूँ, and वहाँ पे we subtract your charges.
Okay.
Right. So उससे पहले there are no upfront charges. There are no charges at the time of the 80%. Because
Okay.
we want you to have your working capital without any hindrance. So that 80% you can use however you like it. आपका जब remaining आएगा उससे हम charge करते हैं.
So like वो जो 80% आप बोल रहे हो वो like कितने दिन में reflect हो जाता है in exported जो भी है उनके account पे?
If you give me a BL today, by tomorrow or day after at most, it's reflected in your account.
Okay. That's
Right. So 24 to 48 hours, you have your 80% invoice value with you.
Okay. So किसी और को कोई question पूछना है? Any queries? अली असगर जी कुछ पूछना है आपको?
After getting money, for example, 80% of the amount, invoice amount you are giving me post-shipment.
Sir, आपकी आवाज बहुत कम आ रही है. I can.
Yeah. Is it okay now, sir?
Yes,
For example, I taken 80% of the amount from you after my shipment, and maybe after 60 days I can collect remaining 20%. So when you are taking back money from you, money from me, you given, right, that money when you are taking it.
I didn't understand the question, sir.
So basically he is asking कि अगर आपने जो बोला कि 20% आप return कर दोगे, पहले आप 80% उनको दोगे and बाद में 20% return कर दोगे, तो वो 1% आप कब लोगे? आपने charges आप कब लोगे?
जो 20%, the 20% that we'll give you towards the end, no, we'll subtract our charges there.
Yeah, you are doing, but money is coming to my account, right? From buyer directly, money is coming to my account.
No, sir. That's what I mentioned. The buyer will come to drip. The buyer will pay drip capital.
Oh, buyer will pay to drip capital. So in invoice also we are mentioning your account details, everything.
Right. So invoice, the only change in the documents is the invoice. Where on the invoice you write that this invoice has been assigned to drip capital. Please make sure that the payment is in the following account and we have our bank details.
Yeah. So here my question is linked to previous question. Yes, actually I have asked you, if I have a buyer, so I need to validate from you before sending goods, because for example, he is giving the purchase order. So after purchase order and I am supplying goods, after that I cannot change my invoice. So whenever I am preparing my invoice and whenever BL is getting prepared, at that time itself, I need to mention your company and details. Then only money will come back to your account.
Sir, so we've had cases. So yeah, I got your question. So we've had cases. We are able to do invoice that is even older, right? So we don't need to make any change in your BL. We don't need to make any change in your shipping bill. The only the invoice needs to be changed. So there are times when exporters come to us and say that our shipment is already sailed. How will you work with that? So we just ask them if your buyer will be okay to take a revised invoice with the clause, we can still fund you.
Okay.
Right. So if your buyer is okay with it and they can give us a confirmation that yes, we will pay drip capital, you can revise your invoice. Because your invoice is the only thing that is changed and has a clause.
Yeah. If in case, for example, I am already exporter, that is why these questions are coming. So
yes, sir, no
actually I have one buyer, and whenever he is sending money or anything you want to do, first of all I am sending invoice to his company. Then his company is giving to bank. After getting approval from bank, then only they will proceed to pay money. So first of all, how
Right.
the process will go? No, I am taking purchase order. Then after I am sending the goods. Before sending the goods, I need to send the pro forma invoice. That pro forma invoice you need to submit in bank. After getting approval, so the bank is getting ready for money to transfer to us. So after
basically, this is a
submitting my PL
bank-to-bank transaction, right?
yeah. So
So
this
this
is
will
also
be
bank to
a
bank, but there is no LC here. No LC concept.
yeah,
But
I understand. So this will be
yeah,
a DA, a documents against
yeah,
acceptance, DA payment, right?
yeah, DA.
And
So
your
in this
bank,
case, yeah, in this case, if customer is or bank is not agreeing to add drip capital, so at that time it is challenging, right? So you need to take it from me only.
Right. No, sir. So what basically we do in bank-to-bank transactions, right? One is where your customer needs to be intimated, where you are doing a factoring agreement with this. Secondly, when your bank is sending the invoice to their bank, that changes to our bank. So what we'll do is you'll give us the invoice, our bank along with the covering letter will send that invoice to the customer's bank. So that cover letter will basically explain the situation that you are into a factoring agreement, and this is being done on behalf of the exporter, and it goes from our bank to the buyer's bank, right? And we don't send it directly. So when it's going through a bank to bank, they verify it on their end, and then they make the payment like that to Drip Capital. So that is also doable. One or two extra steps.
So you will be. Yeah, you will be guiding each and every step whenever the things are going like.
Right. So when it's going bank to bank, then it goes through our bank instead of your bank. I think you're talking about a DA payment.
Yes.
Right. So this basically, yeah. So we are able to cover that as well. Right. So because we do DA and DP payments. So the only difference is then it will not go through your bank. It will go through our bank. So we'll generate a cover letter for that, for this transaction, and we'll send it to the importer's bank.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so anyone else wants to ask anything, they can ask. Okay, so I think no one wants to ask anything. So moving forward, दुष्यंत आपको और कुछ बताना है और कुछ discuss करना है, which is.
No, I'm pretty much done. I'm open to the floor for questions if they have anything in mind, anything at all, even if it's not related to export financing. If I know it, I'll be able to answer. Right. Otherwise, my details are mentioned here. You can note down my number, right, or my email ID, and you can just drop me an email or just call me up. So I'm more than happy to take the discussion forward in a one-to-one situation.
Yes, definitely. Whatever registration has come, I'll definitely forward you all the details. So if they need and they have not attended the session, so you just talk to them and whatever their needs are.
Yeah, that should also be done.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining the session, and thank you, Dushyant, for coming and giving these sharing these solutions with everyone. And if अगर आपको चाहिए तो जैसे कि आपको दिया गया है contact details, आप contact करिए कभी भी, वो आपको सारे जो भी आपके queries है उसका solution definitely देने की कोशिश करेंगे. And thank you so much. So like we are ending the session, and thank you Dushyant.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Tanya.